Right, so for today's session, I'm going to explain how to make comparisons between people, objects, and so on concerning different adjectives. At the very beginning, I'm going to explain how to make the comparative form to compare between two people or two objects and so on, and then move to explain the superlative form, how to compare between one thing or a person among others. So let's start with the first comparative form, and the first example, for example, compare between two people. For example, we have Hassan and we have Hisham, for example. And I want to compare between these two people in terms of height. For example, we say that Hassan is tall and Hisham is short. So I give two adjectives to describe the height of Hassan and Hisham, but the question is how to put them together in one sentence by comparing between Hassan and Hisham in terms of height. So say that Hassan is taller than Hisham. Or we can say Hisham is shorter than Hassan. Okay? So this means what? So when I have an adjective tall, so it becomes taller than. And if it is short, so it becomes shorter than. Hassan is taller than Hisham, and Hisham is shorter than Hassan. Instead, another example, suppose that I passed two exams, for example, exam A and then exam B, and I got in exam A, for example, 20 out of 20, but in exam B I got, for example, only 8 out of 20. And I want to compare between these two exams in terms of difficulty. So I say that exam A I got 20 because it is very easy. But exam B I got only 8 because it is difficult. And then move, how can I compare between them and put it in one sentence? So I say that exam A is easier than exam B. Or I can say exam B is more difficult than exam A. This means when I have an adjective easy, so it becomes easier than. And when I have an adjective, difficult, so it becomes more difficult than. And the question that you may ask is why in this case we put just er. We say tall, taller, but in this case we say easy, easier. Why did we change y? And why in this case only er, but in this case we put more and we put the adjective as it is and then than. So to clarify things, when we have adjectives, by the end of these adjectives we have y, so we have to exchange y with I and then put plus or add er. And when we have long adjectives, and we mean by long adjectives, adjectives in which we have more than 2 syllables, so we have to keep the adjective as it is and then put more, okay? In still another example, suppose that I want to compare between two products. We have product A, any product, and then product B. And I want to compare between these two products in terms of the quality. So people say that product A is good, and some other people say that product B is bad. So how can I compare between these two products in terms of quality and put it in one sentence? So I say product A is better than product B. Then I can say that product B is worse than product A. This means what? When I have the adjective good, so the comparative form of this adjective becomes better than. And when I have an adjective that is bad, so the comparative form is worse than. And once again you may ask why in this case we put plus er. In this case, when we have an adjective, by the end we change y with I and then put er. Here long adjectives or adjectives with more than 2 syllables, we put more and then the adjective as it is, and in this case we change the adjective completely. So the answer to this question is that we have some exceptions with some adjectives that we have to change their form. It's like good, so it becomes better than, bad becomes worse than. Now let's move to the superlative form. And suppose now we don't have only 2 people, so we have, for example, we may have 3 people. We may have the same, it's like Hassan, we have Hisham, and then we have Aya, for example. For the height, we keep Hassan the tallest, tall. Um, so in this case, so Hassan is tall, Aya is short. For Hisham is medium. Right, so if I want to compare between, for example, Hassan in comparison to Hisham and Aya, and how can I compare, for example, Aya to Hisham and Hassan in terms of height? So we say that Hassan is the tallest person. Hassan is the tallest person. Concerning Aya, so we say Aya is the shortest person. This means when I have an adjective tall, so it becomes the tallest. And when I have an adjective short, so it becomes the shortest. Hassan is the tallest person, Aya is the shortest person. So when I say Hassan is the tallest person, this means that Hassan is the tallest person in comparison to Hisham and Aya. And when I say Aya is the shortest person, so she is short concerning with reference to Hisham and or in comparison to Hisham and Hassan. Concerning the other example, suppose that I passed, for example, it's not only 2 exams, but maybe we have 3 exams. Okay, so for example, I have exam A, exam B, and then exam C. For the first exam, I got 20 out of 20. Exam 2, I got 8 out of 20. And then exam C, I got, for example, 15 out of 20. So I want to compare between these exams according to the marks that I have got in the first exam, the second, and the third. So I say that A is the easiest. The easiest exam. And I say then that B is the most difficult exam. This means when I have an adjective, for example, easy, so it becomes the easiest. And when we have an adjective difficult, so it becomes the most the most difficult. And once again, you may say, why in this case we put just est, we add est to the adjective while making comparative or superlative form, and in this case we have to put I, or we have to put the most. So it is the same like we mentioned in the comparative form. So when we have an adjective, by the end of this adjective we have y, so we change y with IER. So in the superlative form we change y with IEST, I and then add EST. For long adjectives like this, difficult, interesting, beautiful, and so on, so we have to put the most. If in the comparative form we put more, so in the superlative form we put the most. Concerning the other example, suppose now we don't have only one product, we have three products. For example, product A, then product B, and then product C. Suppose that people, for example, people vote, or let's classify using, for example, this. So this means that this is good, this is a bad product because it's not chosen by people, or people didn't vote for this product concerning the quality of this product, and this one is so-so. So how can I make superlative form if I start with A, for example, product A? So A is the best product. A is the best product because A is the first. Next, for C is the worst product because it is the last, so it becomes the worst. So when I have adjective that is good, so it becomes the best. So A is the best product in comparison to product B and product C. C is the worst product in comparison to B and A. So when I have bad, so it becomes the worst. Okay? Right, so let's have a conclusion. Right, so generally speaking, if I want to make comparison, I have to bear in mind that there are comparisons between two, okay, or more than two. If it is comparison between two, so this is what is called comparative form. And if it is comparison more than two, so this is what we call superlative form. Okay? And whether we talk about the comparative form or superlative form, so we are talking about adjectives. That describe this case. And for the adjective, so there are four things that you have to bear in mind. So you either put plus in the comparative form er, or we put plus IER, or we put plus more, or we have to change the form, of the adjective. Okay, so when we want to make the comparative form, so for the adjective we put plus er, IER, or put more level. Sorry, we put more with long adjectives, with adjectives in which we have two or more syllables, and then for some adjectives we have to change the adjective. Now in terms of the superlative form, so it has to do also with the adjective. So we either put plus est, or plus iest, or plus most, or we have to change the adjective. Okay, so this is the general conclusion to this lesson. So to make comparison between two, it is called comparative form, and there are changes that I have to abide by. I have to put plus er, or this is in general, or plus IER, especially with adjectives by the end of which we have y, so we change y with I and then add er. With adjectives in which we have more than two syllables, so we have to put more and keep the adjective as it is. And then we have exceptions of some irregular adjectives that we have to change the form. For example, let's give examples. For example, number one. So we have, for example, adjective it's like quick, quicker than. Number two, it's like early, earlier than. Three, beautiful, more beautiful than. And then we have good, so it becomes better than. Or okay, quick, quicker than. Early, earlier than. Beautiful, more beautiful than. Good, better than. Concerning the superlative form, let's give examples. For example, this is 1, 2, 4. For example, number one, small, so it becomes the smallest. Happy, happy, the happiest. Number three, which we have to put most, is like interesting, so it becomes the most interesting. And then number four, change the adjective, is like, for example, bad, so it becomes the worst. That's it. So this Right, so to justify the answers to this exercise, so we stayed at the cheapest hotel in the town simply because we don't have only one hotel in the town, we have different hotels, and we stayed at the cheapest one. Okay, Everest is the highest mountain in the world, so the same thing. So in the world, we don't have only one mountain, so we have different mountains in the world, and Everest is the highest one. She is more intelligent than her brother. In this case, we are comparing between she and her brother in terms of intelligence, and that's why we use the comparative form. So we say more intelligent than. For me, Sarah is the best student in her class. We use the superlative form because we compare Sarah to the other students in her class. Health and happiness are more important than money, so the same here. We compare health and happiness with money in terms of importance, and that's why we use the comparative form. Our house is the biggest house in the village, so we don't have only one house in the village. So we speak about our house in terms of size, and we say it is the biggest one. Africa is hotter than Europe, so in this case we compare between two continents, and that's why we use the comparative form. Africa is hotter than Europe. The lion is stronger than cat, so here we compare between two animals. Your t-shirt is more comfortable than my t-shirt, so we compare between two t-shirts, mine and yours. Coronavirus is the most dangerous issue these days. So these days we have different issues, but coronavirus is the most dangerous one. So we compare one issue in comparison to many other issues, and we say that coronavirus is the most dangerous one, and that's why we use the superlative form.